Okay, so now that we've had a bit of a look at where the individual influences come in, let's take a look at the next layer, which is starting to look at the organisational influence. Okay, now that's, yes, it's who they work with and who they live with and what's going to drive some of that, but also let's start to think about where we can start to influence them and how we as an organisation can influence our people. Understanding that one of the things they might look at is things like your brand, okay? So if I've got a, just do it type thing, what does the brand do? Does that influence people? Yes, it does. It's something they recognise. We're talking about recognition. We're talking about brand association. Okay, people tie into a lot of belief around that. So just the brand itself is going to begin to influence where they're coming from and their decision-making cycle. Okay, the more well-known the brand they're dealing with happens to be. The next thing starts to come down to is understanding the product features. Okay, so if we're talking about the shoes, okay, do they have a particular type of shoe? What are the features of that shoe? Is it the material? Is it the way it's made? Is it, all the different things that it has in it that's going to make it a superior quality product? Okay, the other thing that starts to look at that is the way it's advertised. Okay, so the advertising technique. Is it advertised in a way that the consumer, bearing all these things in mind, can identify with? Okay, is it that you've got these great ads showing some really great information and people can quickly and relatively easily see what your brand's about? Or is it sort of really hard to understand marketing that's a little bit off tangent? Okay, so we start to think about that. Word of mouth becomes really important as well, so starting to discuss with people the product. So if other people have used it, yep, okay, that might be Nike, just do it. But me personally, I love Adidas stuff. It's really great, and I'll tell everyone I know about it because I've always been really happy with that brand. But what that means is that I begin to influence other people. Okay, so I'll be talking about a brand. I quite like their stuff, so I'll refer it on. Okay, it starts to really come in. The way we promote. Okay, so what our promotion, that wonderful P from the marketing mix. The way we promote the brand, how we're driving it, even from a price point, whatever. But we're also looking at, what is the retail display? If I walk into a store, does it have a point of influence or is it sort of down the back? Is it the bottom shelf stuff or is it the eye level stuff that we're looking at? That's really going to shape how the perception of the company is and whether or not someone's interested in buying it. Okay, so now we're trying to influence them at an organisational level. Even our price point, that says a lot about the quality. Okay, if it appears too cheap, people think it's not good enough. There is a sweet spot where they'll happily pay, and then you get to a point where all of a sudden, it looks like it costs too much. So, where do I get to a point about, the best point between the price, too high, too low, create problems. They're looking for that bit in the middle, but, how do I tell where that is? The next thing I start to look at is quality. So, once again, it's that subjective, qualitative information about, well, what's the quality of the product? Okay, is it perceived as high quality? Or is, what's the perception around it? And quality is a hard one, but that certainly influences it. More to the point, the reputation for quality becomes a bit of a thing there as well. Service becomes a big influencer, okay? Can people get the right service level they require? Can they find people to help them with the information? If I walk into the store, are there people there able to help me? If I send an email inquiry, do I wait 5 days to get a response? Can I get information and service quickly? Can I process my transactions, etc.? In a retail environment, they're going to talk about the store ambience. So when I walk into your shop, does it feel like I'm walking into a shop or does it feel like I'm an impost that's annoying your staff? All right, so how am I dealt with? What is the shop laid out like? And if you've been to a cheap and nasty shop and they've got junk everywhere, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's no pleasure at all and you don't really feel like buying their product, okay? We'll save that for the computer shop, which always seem to be a mess. Every time we go to a computer store, stuff everywhere, never a good look. But that's the way they roll. Okay, convenience becomes an aspect as well. Can I get into your store or can I get a hold of this product? How easy is it for me to get a hold? Okay, so convenience becomes a big factor there as well. Okay, make it easy for your people to get your product. Okay, don't make it hard, and also make it easier for them to pay for it. That's the next one. It's amazing how many people are very happy to put something in your hands, but then the payment process is the most painful thing in the universe. Okay, the next one is your loyalty program. Do you have a loyalty program in that? Is that going to influence them? Is there going to be a benefit to having some sort of ongoing business relationship with you? Okay, that's going to start to change that there as well. We need to start thinking about also the packaging of the product. If it's a great product and it comes in a white, in a white cardboard box or a brown paper bag, doesn't really do the product justice. You want to make sure that it's presented to the customer in packaging that's going to emphasize the quality of the product itself. They feel like they're actually getting something, not just, I tucked it away and I threw it across to you, in whatever brown paper packaging. all right? And also the availability of the product. If they go in there and they've got a great product and they're really, they're all about buying and they want it, and there's no availability, it makes it a little bit hard, and they're more likely to consider that, look, I love your product, I love where you're coming from, but you're all too hard to deal with. I went to your competitor and I bought something straight away. So making sure your product is actually available is also a really high point there. Okay, so that's another whole bunch of organisational influences and how you and the community around you is going to start to influence the behaviour of that consumer. Okay, so they already have their background of where they're coming from and all their beliefs and family, etc., and all their sort of psychographic, geographic, and demographic information. And now you've brought in your organisational influence to start to change and shape the way they start to think. And that's going to start to drive the consumer into the next part of the cycle, which is going through the obtaining, consuming, and disposal of the goods and services. Cool?